Hey there, everybody. Levi is on top secret UVS games business, so it's just myself, Andrew Holder, and Christopher Bromley here today. Chris, how are you doing?
I'm so great, dude. Instead of working, I get to just like watch people play the best card game in the world.
Yeah, me too. I miss my every time we do webcam Wednesdays, I do have to miss out on locals, but I get to miss out on locals by watching people play things I would have never dreamed of.
True,
Right?
yeah. And the locals get to not, have to play you. So
That's true. That is true. It's been a couple weeks for the webcam Wednesday though, so Jetburn
mm,
has officially released. It's time to jump into the action with some Jetburn cards. How was your pre-release, Bromley? Did you pull anything cool? Did you have a cool pre-release deck?
so I played in 2 pre-releases and I think I pulled Best Genist as my like alt art both times. So I said, yeah, I'm playing Besto Genist. Not both times. I think the first time I played Hawks because I pulled 1 feather and I thought that was funny. But it was fun. There was a surprising amount of people playing like not set 6 characters, like because they pulled a Mirio or an old Nedger, no, not Nedger.
Nedre?
Yeah, Nedger. Yeah. And which I thought was pretty funny because like the cards are very generic, right? And if you're
Mm-hmm.
playing in sealed, you don't have to symbol chain anything whatsoever. So it was really fun to see people tossing these like the tongue tanks and the viral cosmos is those little kid attacks that have drawbacks and are terrible for the most part, unless you're Mina 2 specifically, are really fun in sealed and in draft because they feel good. They feel very fun.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun. My pre-release, I have been playing not pre-release but constructed. I've been playing this Tasty Riff Asui deck, Asui 3. And in the first pack I opened Tasty Riff and Asui 3, and I went, well, I'm ignoring everything else I open. I'm only doing this. And so I won our pre-release. It was a lot of fun. We had a pretty good show out for ours. I opened a Chrome Rare, my first ever Chrome Rare this set. I opened Hawks number 90. It has already found a new home. I am no longer in possession of Hawks number 90, but I did open a Chrome Rare. That was really sick.
Yeah, and it's the first time I've ever seen Chrome Rares in person at my shop. We had 2 players open a Chrome Rare out of their cases. There was a Bakugo and a I don't remember the other one.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, but the Bakugo, it looks so cool in person. And I like that they're characters this time, so that you can actually just like slap them up and play as it. Assuming you like Bakugo or whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
What do you expect to see tonight, though? Like, we're about to jump into our first webcam Wednesday with Jetburn. Are you expecting to see anything in particular, or a lot of Jetburn, obviously?
Yeah. I'll assume this is the first webcam weekly in a while, right? So there's going to be some people who who said, "Wow, Andrew's going to be watching me, so I got to play the good stuff or the funny stuff, right? I got to impress Bromley, so I'm going to bring my spice, right?" And so I think there's going to be a healthy dose of people who are playing like funny stuff that they're just like, "Here's my locals deck," and I think it does something cool. And then there's the other crowd who are probably practicing for this Saturday, right? Because we have this warm up event that's going to give people an opportunity to travel for with their expenses all paid for by Universus Games, bless them, wonderful may they be. That event is going to be really cool. I think there's still slots open, so if anybody in chat wants to flex their might against some of the best players in the game who haven't qualified for Worlds yet and are probably going the LCQ, it's a good that's going to be the first big event to give us a taste of what the Worlds format is going to look like.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a fair mixture. You're right. I do expect to see a good amount of people practicing for those winter warm-up webcam events. The second WWW tournament, you get to earn Giant Ice Ball, Cool and Tough, Proud Scion, the 3 new promos with that same art style as our Nats events. I think those are some of the best-looking promos the game has ever made. That Chinese New Year style with I call them the Akatsuki clouds. I know they have they're just clouds, but to me they're the Akatsuki clouds. That promo style. And it should be a really exciting event. Speaking of that, I guess this is the first time for us to officially announce that me, you, and Cameron Cardwell will be casting that event this Saturday.
Yeah, first time ever, actually, that I've ever commentated with you. I commentated with Tam during season 1, but you and I just never, like 2 ships in the night. So
yeah, that's me with a lot of people. I didn't do it with Levi until like July of this year. At when you hosted the webcam tournament. That was my first time with Levi. So speaking of all these new characters, the design team dropped a couple of really interesting articles for those that like to read about the design process of the game. There was one article that featured all of the designers and all of the characters they worked on. And there was a second where Church spoke specifically about a character I'm really excited about in Endeavor 3 and showed us off some like playtest versions of cards. And they did that last set with Midoriya 4. And I thought that was one of the coolest articles they've ever posted. So
yeah, I really like looking at like previous like ideations for cards and seeing the permeations that they go through. I definitely recommend taking a look at those cards. And just the article in general. It's a quick, easy read, and it's really like it's like candy, dude. It's like candy.
Yeah, it gives you the idea of kind of like what they thought based on, because the card game for me, one of my favorite parts about it is it feels like it's very top down design. You get told what part of the anime you're at. This is Endeavor. This is the fight we want to focus on. Let's show off that fight. And it really does, where Endeavor's burning himself out at both ends with the self mill, trying to get down to that cycle. And once he cycles, I'm going to be a little corny. He goes beyond plus ultra, he really throws it all out. And I don't know. I think it's a really cool way to design a card game is when you start at the top and you build down from there.
Yeah, I think one of the first questions a lot of new players have when they play the game is, we go through our deck so fast. What happens when I run out of deck? And it's like, start over again. Just do it again. Yeah, and so Endeavor has the most energy for that, right? Where he's like, he gets to the end of this deck and he's like, I'm not finished yet. I'm coming, and he's even bigger and scarier. And he has 10 cards in his RFG pile that might be even scarier that he can pick up with his form. So yeah, I agree. I think that conceptually a lot of the characters in the set are really thematically on point, right? They got Endeavor doing the self-mill thing. They have Asui doing the thing where she commits herself and then readies herself. Fantastic. They did it. Once again, just killer card design.
I really liked Shane Duckworth's part of the article where he brought up Dobby, because in this part of the anime, Dobby kind of fulfills the mastermind role. Shane says this in the article he wrote, the piece of the article he wrote, where the idea of the mastermind is Shigaraki 3, make a check against the 5, make a check against the 7, and Dobby sort of fulfills that role and takes it over. And that's kind of why their kits work so well together, is they were designed, or at least Dobby was designed with Shigaraki in mind, which I think is super neat. Kind of this idea that the idea of a mastermind role is telling you what to do with your deck, like check against the 5, check against the 7. I think that's really neat.
Like it all went according to Keikaku, right? It according to plan. I think that's really cool. And I hope they continue with that in the future, even when they're not like, because that's one of the things that I really like about the game is that there's consistency across like different IPs as well, right? Like, that the Nightmare and Scorpion both liked like hurting themselves, and now we have Endeavor doing that too, kind of via the self mill and the self harm thing with Toga. So it'd be cool in the future to see like a mastermind character in like maybe Attack on Titan that does something really similar. Really tie it all together.
Yeah, I think this set as a whole is at first I was pretty low on it, and then I got my hands on the cards and I started playing with the cards, and I was like, oh, this is way cooler than I thought it was going to be. Because sometimes reading the text on cards versus actually playing with them is wildly different, right? Like you read a card, you go, I don't like that one, and then you put it in a deck and you go, oh, I really like this card. Actually, it does way more than I thought it would. And so if you were going to play in these events, Chris, obviously we can't play in the first one. What would you be playing? Do you have anything in mind?
So I have a friend, his name is Sebastian, and he's one of my up-and-comers locally. And he was like, Bromley, I really want to play Hawks, right? I really want to play Hawks because he's the bird. Bird mentioned, I love birds. And I was like, okay, Sebastian, I don't think this guy's very competitive, but I'm going to do my best. And so then I started looking at his symbols and what I could do with him. And I like fell in love with the silliness that guy does. I've got the deck right here, actually. Here's Hawk.
Yeah, you're pulling it out.
That's been the stand up for me, is just like how on his face this character is so weird, right? With the response, and he has to go find his feathers, and his enhance is like really, really strong, but it's also very niche, right? It can be offensive, it can be defensive. He's just very, very flexible, but also got a stringent pathway to success. And I think that's very cool. And so I've been having a lot of fun playing Hawks because of that. lets me sleeve up my US Smash and play Feathers on top of it.
Yeah, I've seen you play that deck a couple times, and you always are having a blast, like doing your thing, and you get to play United States of Smash, and you're giggling to yourself, and that's like, it's very fun to watch you have fun with a deck because you're very vocal about like how much fun you are having. I think I would probably play the Asui 3 deck that Tam and I have been working on with Tasty Riff, just because, like, man, the most fun I've ever had playing a card outside of maybe Overhaul is Tasty Riff. I'm having a blast playing Tasty Riff.
Tasty Riff's so good. You can't play that card and not go be-do-do-do-do. You know, you gotta. My ringtone for actually 13, 14 years now is it's this Bill and Ted going excellent, and then like a Steve Vai doing the deedly deedlies, and that's just all I think of when I play the cards. Like, excellent on a 6. And it's really cool what that card does to the board right when you play it, right? Because it's not killing anybody typically, unless you're at 3 or something like that, right? But nobody ever wants to get hit by that guy, right? And it's also got this weird scaling component where if you've cultivated enough of those tokens, you get to like tutor anything from your yard, and it's so cool. I love what it does to a deck. You know, it's got a bad check. It's a really, really cool 2-check. And I think that it's really exciting for me to play, and also exciting to see guys like you play with it in such awesome and like fun ways. You know, watching you and Tamron play that, because when you first said it, I was like, what is this doing that's so different? And then I watched you play it, and I said, oh, it's just firing neurons. And
yeah, it just makes me happy. Like, I got discard outlets, I've got ways to destroy my foundations. Playing it's mono highs, I get to play Giant Bite Detention. I'm shuffling cards into my deck. Sometimes I'm shuffling 2 checks back into my deck so I can draw them again, which is a crazy thought, because I just want to play Tasty Rift as many times as possible.
Oh, it's so fun.
It's so much fun. But with that said, I think we have the pairings up. So I think we're going to take a quick break, Bromley, so that we can get into a table, Brian can get set up, and we can get started. So don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back with round 1 of the first Jetburn Wednesday weekly webcam event.